What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Breaking and Entering podcast. Last preseason week and about a week and a half, I believe, away from regular season football. I can't wait. I feel like it's gonna go by slow as hell, but excuse me, hopefully not. Brandon, how you doing today, man?
He's getting ready for that season opener, Chiefs and Ravens. Uh, they're at Kansas City. They'll be unveiling their banner, and then the next day we got Packers and Eagles from I think it's in Mexico. So good way to start the season. Back-to-back games. I think the first ever Friday game that early
Yeah,
in the season. Looking forward to
definitely
it.
one. I don't even remember it being a Friday game. When I saw it last week, I was like, shit, it's a Friday game. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think besides Black Friday and maybe around COVID, it might have been one mixed in there somewhere. I think this was the one of the only ones. But four good teams to start the season to watch on those first two nights, and of course you got the other 28 teams between Sunday and Monday. So yeah, let's can't wait.
Yeah, speaking of good teams, quick off topic. Was looking at the Madden ratings came out for Madden 25, and they had the Commanders like the 30th or 30 or 29th best team. So I was like, this just great. I think they had like a 79 overall or something. It might have been lower than that. But y'all were up there. Y'all had like a 91 overall. But I haven't played Madden in years because honestly that game's trash to me now. But yeah, I just wanted to put that in there real quick.
I want to get a system and get back into it though, because I haven't played like you said in years too. I think probably since high school, honestly.
Yeah, I have Madden '07. I still got my old Xbox. I haven't played it, but I still have Madden '07. That was the last game I like bought and played. But I love
Yep,
that game. But yeah,
gotcha. All right, everyone, let's get to this opening drive. We got a lot of news this week. Since the last time we saw y'all, Stephon Gilmore, he's now a member of the Vikings after signing a 1-year contract early this week. Cardinals wideout Zay Jones, he's been suspended the first 5 games without pay for violating the league's personal conduct policy. Rams starting left tackle Alark Jackson, I think I'm pronouncing his name right. He's been suspended without pay for 2 games, first 2 games of the season. He also violated the NFL's personal conduct policy. Gardner Minshew, he will start for the Raiders at quarterback week 1. Bo Nix there in the AFC West as well. He's been named quarterback 1 for the Broncos. Second overall pick in the draft is Jaden Daniels. He's earned the starting quarterback job with the Commanders. Speaking of Commanders, they were busy this week in the transaction department. They traded Jahan Dotson, the wide receiver Ed was talking about earlier this summer, to the Eagles in a rare in division trade and a rare trade this late in the preseason, this late in the year before the season starts, actually, for a third round pick and 2 7th round picks. They also acquired kicker Cade York from the Browns. Heading to the NFC South, cornerback AJ Terrell, he received a 4-year, $81 million extension from the Falcons. He's now the league's second highest paid corner behind Jair Alexander up in Green Bay. And the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, they've extended their center, one of the best in the league, if not the best, Creed Humphrey. The deal is 4 years, $72 million. He's now the highest paid center in NFL history.
yeah. I was talking to you earlier about that trade. I was like, watch Jahan Dotson turns into a freaking All Pro now. Um, I think we talked about it off air more, but I was definitely was like, yeah, the Commanders are down on the Jahan Dotson. He hasn't looked good in training camp, from what I heard, and he did have a down year compared to what he did his rookie year. So I'm not too surprised by that, but I won't be surprised again, like I said, if he goes to the Eagles and turns it up because we were trying to make him the number 2 receiver. I think with the Eagles will be number 3, maybe number 4 receiver, and have some more opportunities as far as just easier people to deal with on the defense side of the ball. But yeah, good luck to him. I'm not looking forward to playing him, but yeah,
I heard somebody that believes in him. Dan Orlovsky on ESPN said that the Eagles might have the best trio now, the wide receivers.
of course.
But I like Dan Orlovsky, but come on, man, you're the same guy that ran out of the end zone with the Colts. So he's a great analysis, though.
All right. So last week we talked about the AFC North and the AFC South. Today we're talking about the AFC West and the AFC East to finish all the divisions in football. I'm going to start with the AFC West first. Brandon, which team you want to talk about first, man?
The defending champs, I think they've earned the right to be talked about first and be the lead of our show. 8 straight AFC West titles. I think it's five consecutive AFC title game appearances, with 4 of them being at home, or most of them being at home. Back-to-back Super Bowl champions. Last year, they said, hey, they're going on the road. We'll see how they fare. They might lose in the playoffs and they win the Super Bowl. You had issues from the wide receiver position. They still win the Super Bowl. But no doubt in my mind, this team won't win this division, make another deep playoff run. It's just, until they're beat, I don't see anything else. I mentioned the wide receivers from a year ago. They were a huge concern for this offense and this team overall. They really were putting them in sticky situations. They could not catch the ball. They went out and bought in Hollywood Brown and drafted Xavier Worthy in the first round. 2 speedy guys to go along with Rasheed Rice, who really made a name for himself as a rookie in 2023. They don't need the speed though. They need guys that can catch the ball. They need guys that got good hands. I I've made it very clear on this show that Hollywood Brown struggles with catching the ball, so we'll see how that goes. But I know Xavier Worthy had himself a pretty good preseason. Um, so I think if those guys can step up and just catch the ball, I mean, honestly, that's all they need is those guys just catch the ball. Mahomes, I think he'll have another MVP type season without a doubt. I think defensively, the only concern for me looking at this roster is that they lost their lockdown corner in L'Jarius Sneed. They still got Trent McDuffie, who is a phenomenal young player, uh, and they drafted 9 defensive backs in the past 3 seasons. So I think the youth will step up, and they're going to miss L'Jarius Sneed obviously because he was a great player, but I think he might become a distant memory by the middle point of the season because of these guys, these young guys. They got multiple guys that can come in there and step on the field. Harrison Butker, I like to go in all phases of the game. Special teams, he's one of the best kickers in the league. And then they managed to sign the punter Matt Araiza. He was drafted by Buffalo. I
Mhm.
believe it was in 2023. He had some off-season allegations. I mean, some off the field allegations back when he was in college. So he missed the entire year last year when he was cut by Buffalo. He's back in the NFL now. He's one of the best punters in college football to ever come through there. And it looks like Xavier Worthy is going to be their punt returner from when I was looking at their depth chart. So they got speed there and a guy with sure hands. So I'm looking like their special teams is going to be just as good as their offensive defense. And then I don't think I sent it to you, but I saw something. I think it was after the second preseason game last weekend that their long snapper got injured, and the backup tight end Noah Gray, he took his spot. Apparently, he had never snapped, uh, you know, been in that situation as a long snapper before in his entire career, and they were training him on the sidelines, and they said they didn't miss a beat there for their special teams units, and that's saying something, man. It's to go in there in a situation like that. They're so versatile. You got Justin Reed was kicking um, field goals last season, and I think the season before when Butker got hurt. I mean, it's crazy how when you're that good, it kind of reminds you of England when they put Troy Brown into from
Mhm.
wide receiver and the defensive back, and they moved their guys around. Yeah, Mike Vrabel catching touchdowns. He was a linebacker. You know, when you got a really good roster, and you got really good coaching, and you got a good quarterback, it seems like everything else just falls in place. So yeah, I think the Chiefs obviously will be 2024 winners of the AFC South. I mean, the only people I think that might think otherwise are Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos fans. But if they're really smart, they probably know that they're coming in second, third, and fourth. How do you feel about this Kansas City team?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they're a favorite to win the division again. I'll be surprised though if Broncos fans honestly believe they'll win the division. No offense to Broncos, but let's talk about that a little later.
Yep.
But yeah, yeah, they picked up Carson Wentz for a backup quarterback as well.
Mhm.
I think Andy Reid will help resurrect his career. I don't know if he'll play any. I mean, as long as Mahomes is out there, he shouldn't have to worry about playing. But I think working with Andy Reid will definitely help him out. Maybe give him audition down the road and he can start for a team again next year or just later in the future. Like you said, they picked up Hollywood Brown. I think he'll be out the first week or two dealing with that AC sprain. and they also picked up linebacker Drew Tranquil. And then I like the tight end they picked up, Irv Smith, over from the Bengals. I think he's a good addition for them. We'll see if he and Mahomes have a connection early on. I know Travis Kelsey is steady and true, but definitely just having the other weapons over there will help. Like you said, they drafted Xavier Worthy in the first round. First round, they drafted a tackle in the second round, Kingsley Sumataya. Sorry if I butchered that, sir. And then a tight end in the third round, Jared Wiley. But yeah, man, like you said, as long as they got Patrick Mahomes, they're pretty much a lock to get to the AFC Championship, in my opinion. Like you said, though, I am kind of concerned about the loss of L'Jarius Sneed. This kind of reminds me, I think it was like 10 years ago when the Panthers they made their Super Bowl run with Josh Norman, and then they traded him away. They didn't want to pay anymore. And then after that, the next season, they missed him badly. Like they were getting thrown a party on basically. Like you said, though, they had Trent McDuffie who definitely showed out and showed up last year. I was surprised excuse me, I was surprised by how good he was, especially in the playoffs, how he was playing. He was locking people up and down, and I think he made some great plays in the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know like how the Panthers lost Josh Norman, if that will have that same effect with L'Jarius Sneed leaving and going over to the Titans. But I'll definitely keep an eye on that and see how much of an impact his disappearance or his non-presence will be for the Chiefs. But yeah, I do think the Chiefs should win this division. As long as Mahomes is good and stays healthy, I don't think it'll be too much of an issue going forward. All right, man. Who you want to talk about next in the AFC West?
Going to the Vegas. You've been to their stadium, right?
Yeah,
I think
beautiful.
it's going to be a special place this year. This team rallying behind Antonio Pierce as their head coach, but the real question is, will they rally behind these quarterbacks? Gardner Minshew, we mentioned that he's got the starting job. Um, I know, got to talk about the backup quarterback because it was a little bit of a battle in training camp. Aiden O'Connell. If you ask Steve Mariucci, I think I told you this before. When he got drafted, he thought Aiden O'Connell was pretty much the second coming of Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, the way he was talking about him on NFL Network. But Minshew, it makes sense why he got this starting position, to, especially the way he played in Indianapolis last year, leading that team to I think it was it was second or third place in the AFC South and very competitive even without their rookie phenom there. He held his own. Josh Jacobs, he's left town. So they got Zamir White and Alexander Madison from the Vikings to fill the void. The great thing for Gardner Minshew is that they got Devontae Adams. Obviously, he's still there. There's some rumors that he's disgruntled. He wants to get out of town. That could be possibly getting traded over there with his homeboy um, Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, even though his old homeboy was Derek Carr and he's no longer there with the Raiders. But and then they got Brock Bowers. He was touted as the best tight end coming out of the draft, and if he has any type of season like Sam Laporta had up there with Detroit as a rookie, they're in for they went the right way if he has anything like plays anything like Laporta. Defensively, I heard something a couple weeks ago that Max Crosby is so good. I mean, we all know how good he is, but he was so good in training camp that they legit had to keep him out of practices because he was just dominating the offensive line, and they wanted to have a look at the offense. Like they, that's saying something when you gotta sit somebody because you know damn well they're gonna destroy your offensive line or basically get to your quarterback. We know you technically can't hit the quarterbacks, but you can hit the running backs in the backfield. So yeah, I think my X factor though on defense is big Christian Wilkins. I like the big guys, those big defensive tackle, big defensive ends that could play all uh, positions on the line. I think he'll be a force up the middle there with Crosby getting a lot of attention and double teams that he does get. And besides, um, Wilkins finished with 9 sacks last year. It was a career high for him there down there in Miami. He's still fairly young as well. So yeah, I'm looking out for big Christian Wilkins there. I think honestly this team can finish in second place again. I kind of forgot that they ended up in second place last year because the Chargers had a collapse and the Broncos weren't hitting on much either. But so yeah, second or third place, but I'll give them a slight edge because of some of the pieces that the Chargers have lost, and I think having yourself a good young coach, and this seems like the trend is kind of going with the black defensive minded head coaches lately. I think that they can rally behind Antonio Pierce, like I mentioned at the top, and finish in second place in the AFC West. And plus, they did beat the Chiefs last year one time. I think it was on Christmas Day. I think it was. Um, so yeah, I mean, they know how to beat. Recently, they know how to beat the Chiefs. So if they can get two out of there, it's definitely looking good. If they could sweep them for some, we probably would be shocked as hell, but that would be even better for them. How do you feel about the Raiders?
Yeah, man. I'm excited to see what they do. First full year for Antonio Pierce as the head coach. They got Marvin Lewis over there now as assistant head coach
Yeah.
too, so they're definitely bringing some coaching experience over in their front. They got a new OC as well, Luke Getzey. He's a new coordinator on the offensive side. Spent the last 2 years with the Bears, so we'll see how the offense looks as he is coordinating the offensive side of the ball. But like you said, I kind of want to see what the production is going to look like now that Josh Jackson's gone. Excuse me, Josh Jacobs is gone. I know they, like you said, they got Zamir White and Alexander Madison, but will they be able to produce the same as Josh Jacobs? Because he was like a MVP candidate over a couple of years. I know he dealt with some injuries and things like that last year, but he definitely was like leading the league in rushing. I think it was a year before last, and was a top running back last year too, even with those injuries. So I'm curious to see how they'll look without him. I've been hearing the same thing about Devontae Adams and potentially reuniting with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. So that'll be interesting too. If that does happen, will they just go in like kind of a rebuild mode? They weren't too, how should I put excited about the quarterbacks. They were talking. I saw some funny comments over the preseason about like they're making it hard for us or not making it hard for us. I can't remember exact quote, but like they weren't like jumping up and down about the quarterback battle and figuring out who's going to be the quarterback. I think Gardner Minshew won it out mostly because of experience. Aiden O'Connell, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, man, I do want to see how Brock Bowers look. They drafted a tight end last year. I think if it wasn't the first round, it was definitely a high draft pick in Mayer. So I want to see how those two look together. Mayer's going to go back into like a blocking tight end type of role. They're going to do like two tight ends, or maybe they have like a Aaron Gronkowski, my guy Hernandez. Did I say Aaron? Excuse me, Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski. See if that they can do something like that. I doubt it, but you never know. They also drafted two tackles or two, excuse me, offensive linemen in the second and third round with a center Jackson Powers Johnson in the second round and a tackle Delmar Glaze in the third round. So we'll see how that line looks with these new additions as well. But I see them right now. I see them finishing in third place. I think they'll be competitive though. There was like a story early in the training camp preseason too about a doll and Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if you heard about that, but I know the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes heard about that, and he was like, "We'll see how it looks when they play them again." So I'm definitely looking forward to when they play each other, and if that gets brought up, and if there's going to be a rivalry going forward. 'Cause I remember the last couple of times Mahomes and Max Crosby played each other, they definitely got to some talking, little shoving matches and stuff like that. So interested to see how that matchup looks. But overall, I do see the Raiders going into third place. I just don't know about the quarterback position. I think it's going to be up and down, and that's going to affect the whole team. But Antonio Pierce, I definitely think he'll have those guys ready to play. I just don't know if they have the talent to go out and win a bunch of games out there, but we'll see. I could be wrong. All right, man. Who you want to talk about next in the AFC West?
A lot of changes, man. The new Baltimore West. A lot of people on this side of town been joking about that. This roster looks a lot different than it did at the end of 2023, especially on offense. They got two new running backs, two new wide receivers, a new right tackle, a new center, and a new offensive coordinator. Your boy Jim Harbaugh, former Michigan head coach, he's back in the NFL, and he's back in the Golden State. This time it's with the Chargers, obviously. Brings his old buddy from the Ravens, and his time in San Francisco, Greg Roman, to be their offensive coordinator, aka the pass game killer. Uh, Justin Herbert, I think he'll have a little bit of decline in his stats this year because Greg Roman is all about running the ball. We know that from his time in San Francisco. We know that from his time in Baltimore. We set records in 2019, his first season as offense coordinator, but the pass game just wasn't clicking there, honestly, after the 2019 season, and that's why he was no longer with us last season. So I think my guy Gus Edwards, he'll be a force for this Chargers team. I'm very sad to see him go once he did sign out there, especially his ability to get into the end zone. That guy's a touchdown machine for sure. Um, they got J.K. Dobbins as well. When he's healthy, he's pretty damn good. We all know that, but it's fact that like I mentioned last week, I hate talking about asking this question, but is can he stay healthy? I mean, it is what it is. It's just been over his career, the entire time he's been in the National Football League. Also, big concern with the wide receiver position. They lost Keenan Allen. I call him Mr. Reliable, veteran player. He's now in Chicago to help Caleb Williams in his rookie season. Who will step up and become that wide receiver one? You got Josh Palmer. He's been there a couple seasons. Lad McConkey, I think he's a rookie, if I'm not mistaken. DJ
Mhm.
Chark Jr. came over. I think he was with the Jaguars, if I'm not mistaken. I know he's played there before, I believe. So we'll see which one of these guys will step up and take try to be the guy getting the most attention out there for the wide receiver room. Turning my attention to the defense real quick. Despite the big names on defense, we know this was a problem for the Chargers. I think it's part of the reason why Brandon Staley got fired. Health and production wise, honestly, it all starts and stops with the Bosa guy out there, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. Those two are a force for sure. Perriman is also good at inside linebacker. I really love Sante Samuel Jr. and Derwin James. I've always been a big fan of him. He's a playmaker. And you put him in any position in that secondary, he can make plays. But they got to be able to hold their own. They got to be able to close out games because again, this was Achilles' heel for them the last couple of seasons. They could not close out games, and the defense gave up a lot of yards and a lot of points. So, yeah, I'm just not sure if this wide receiver and tight end room is enough. Even though they got Hayden Hurst, he's a pretty solid tight end, but yeah, I think the Raiders will come in third. Excuse me, the Chargers will come in third. How do you feel about the Los Angeles Chargers with your new former head coach Harbaugh out there?
Yeah, I think Jim Harbaugh is a breath of fresh air for the Chargers, and I think they're going to finish in second place. Honestly, in my opinion, I know Harbaugh definitely likes to work on those offensive and defensive line as far as improving them. They drafted their first round the tackle Joe Alt. He's supposed to be like all world and stuff like that. They signed a free agent defensive lineman Puna Ford too, so he'll go along with like you said Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. See all those guys that got there together. Like you said, I'm concerned about the wide receiver room too. They lost Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. He blew out
Yep.
his knee last year, but he's also gone. He's with the Jets now, so we'll see how Lad McConkey looks. He was drafted in the second round. They also got Jerry Rice's son, Brendan Rice. He was drafted in the
Oh yeah.
seventh round. I've heard good things about him in training camp. He's got Jerry Rice as his dad, so I'm sure he'll get tips whenever he does. Ask his dad for advice. I heard Harbaugh say good things about him too, and basically like it doesn't matter where you drafted. After you get drafted, it's about what you do in the field. So I'll be interested to see if he does get playing time and if they find a diamond in the rough for him. But like you said, man, Gus Edwards, Hayden Hurst, J.K. Dobbins, those guys can stay healthy. It's knock on wood because they definitely dealt with injuries in their career, especially J.K. Dobbins and Hayden Hurst. But if Hayden Hurst stays healthy, if he can connect with Herbert, I really think that would be a good connection. But I am concerned who is going to be. It's kind of like how I feel about a team we're going to talk about later. Who's going to, replace that production of Keenan Allen, become the, true number one? Or will they just have a bunch of guys out there who can, Herbert can get the ball to, distribute the ball to? But yeah, man, they got a new defensive coordinator as well. Jesse Minter is our new DC. So we'll see if he can, rejuvenate the defensive, because like you said, they definitely got some names on that side of the ball. Derwin James, everyone remembers that highlight tackle he got of body slamming Travis Kelsey. So I mean, I think they have enough talent on both sides of the ball where they can compete. But I mean, as long as, like I said, as long as Mahomes is in that division and he's healthy, I think the Chiefs would be number one. But I think Harbaugh can elevate this team, put you know, show the potential that Justin Herbert has showed and have him play consistent, have him play good consistently, and they can definitely get number two in this position and challenge the Chiefs maybe for that number one spot. But we'll see how they look definitely going forward. All right, we got the Broncos next. How you feel about them, man?
Oh man, for the first time since 1983, Denver will start a rookie quarterback under center this season. We got Bo Nix. He's the guy. Definitely better than the guy they acquired in the all season, Zach Wilson. I don't know why they got him over there, but anyway, and he's probably the best option against Jarrett Stidham. Sean Payton, he's no dummy. He knew that there was the best guy to be out there for them. Good thing is for the rookie, they always had a good offensive line, in my opinion, and they got two good running backs. You got Javante Williams and Samaje Perine. I think Samaje came over from the Bengals, if I'm not mistaken. We know if Javante Williams is healthy, it gives this team a much better shot at winning for sure. They lost some guys from the wide receiver position as well. You still got Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick out there. The tight ends, I'm not too sure about, but be honest with you, looking at the defense, it's not too many names I know. I know they lost Justin Simmons in the secondary. Still got Pat Surtain back there. So I'll be interested to see how this defense does in 2024. It's the same defense. Some of these guys are left over that gave up 70 points to Miami
Mm.
early in the season last year. So that's got to be still in the Broncos fans in the back of their minds. Especially, I don't know if they play them this year or not, but you play any high-powered offense, you'll be worried about that for at least another year. So yeah, I'm not too sure that Denver's going to be anywhere but the bottom. I do believe that I think Bo Nix again, he was the right selection there for them at quarterback, but I think it will take a little time. I think Sean Payton could be on a little bit of hot seat if it doesn't get this quarterback situation. If Bo Nix doesn't come in and play like a rookie phenom. Um, yeah, I think Denver will be at the bottom of the AFC West and the AFC in general. How do you feel about the Broncos?
Yeah, I agree. I don't got too much on the Broncos. I think they'll finish last in the division. I do think Bo Nix will be all right though. I like he looked good from what I saw in the preseason. He was getting the ball out. He was running when he needed to. So I think he'll be all right for them. I think he could be the franchise quarterback, but right now I just think the other teams in that division are way too good, way too strong for them. So I think they'll finish in fourth place. They drafted a linebacker in the third round, Jonah Ellis. They got my guy Cody Barton. He was with the Commanders last year. He had over 120 tackles. I think he'll be a good addition for them. But overall, I just don't see them competing too much with the other teams in that division. So yeah, I got them finishing in fourth place too. And that's
All
all I
right.
got on the Broncos.
We got let's see. I got of course Kansas City at the top, the Raiders at 2, Chargers at 3, Broncos at 4. I think you're the same except you flip flop the Chargers and Broncos. You got them at 2. Chargers at 2 and Broncos at 3, correct?
Raiders at 3, Broncos at 4.
Thank you.
Chargers
Sorry,
at
I'm
2. Yeah,
trying to do two things at once over here. All right.
no, you
Thanks for
good.
clarifying that. All right, let's head back across the country to the AFC East. Patriots, Dolphins, Jets, and Bills. Which one you want to dive into first?
Let's start with the Patriots. That's cool with you. We got new head coach Gerard Mayo. They drafted a quarterback in the first round, Drake May. They brought over my guy from the Commanders, Jacoby Brissett. Picked up a couple of players in free agency as well. Hunter Henry, my other guy, Antonio Gibson. I think that'll be a good addition for them. Kendrick Bourne. Let's see. They drafted Jalen Polk as a wide receiver out of Washington. In the third round, they got an offensive lineman, Caden Wallace. They also drafted another lineman in the fourth round. They have a cornerback that's really good, Christian Gonzalez. I think he got hurt early on last season,
Yeah,
but before that, he was like really, really good. Like, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's like a top 3 cornerback. I think the defensive side of the ball, the Patriots always seem to have a good defense, in my opinion, even though Bill Belichick is not there. Gerard Mayo, he was a linebacker, if I'm not mistaken. So I won't be surprised if that defense is ready to go. Offensive side of the ball, like you said, I believe Jacoby Brissett is going to be the starter. When we were talking off air, um, I think it's going to be a little slow for them on the offensive side of the ball. Overall in this division, I think they're going to be in fourth place. I hope Jacoby Brissett can play the whole season and do his thing, but I won't be surprised if they get out to a slow start or get stuck in the mud. They put Drake May in there just so he can start playing games, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just give him a red shirt season and let him hold a clipboard and watch from the side. But yeah, man, I think they'll be in fourth place, but I do see them, playing for Gerard May. I don't think there is going to be a situation where he loses the locker room. I don't think, not in his first season as a head coach, in my opinion. How about you? How you feeling about the Patriots?
Yeah, around that point, I think this team could win the AFC East, but from an on paper personnel standpoint, this team could be one of the worst in NFL, and I think it's obviously going to go that way. In my opinion, excuse me, Gerard Mayo, like you mentioned, new head coach, former linebacker. He was on the staff for a long time under Bill Belichick. Won't be easy for you, my guy. After more than 20 seasons, Bill Belichick, he's no longer leading this team. It's going to look oddly different without Bill Belichick and Brady. Hadn't been there in what 4 or 5 years. Um, I think um, offensively, running back and tight end will be the strength for them this season. Like you mentioned, Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, Ramondre Stevenson. He's always been solid there, and former Commander Antonio Gibson, as you mentioned. I think those guys will make a name for themselves up there again. Wide receiver concerns me. They just haven't addressed that position. In my opinion, they cut Juju Smith-Schuster a couple weeks ago, I believe. He was probably the only one that was worth something up there, in my opinion, looking at this roster. And then offensive line is still shaky as well. Defensively, it's a fairly young unit. I really like Christian Barmore, another big guy up there in the middle. Defensive line, 8.5 sacks last season. And like you mentioned, Christian Gonzalez, I think he'll have a comeback season. He could possibly win comeback player of the year. And like you said, he'll be one of the top corners in the league. He was drafted very high expectations for him coming out of college a year ago. But yeah, I'm hoping for the best with this team, but it's not looking good at this point. I think they got a lot of personnel changes they need to make come the end of this coming off season. But it could be a team like the you never know. It could be a team like the Houston Texans that a lot of young guys, a lot of guys we didn't know about, and they just made that leap. But I don't see that this year, and I think they got definitely two teams ahead of them in this division that's just way far ahead from a roster standpoint, and if not two and a half for sure. Which team you want to go to next in the AFC East?
Let's go to Florida. Let's talk about Miami Dolphins. They signed Jordan Poyer over from the Bills, signed Shaq Barrett from the Bucks. They got tight end Jonnu Smith now. They got my guy from the Commanders, Kendall Fuller. And they also picked up your boy, definitely my boy, Odell Beckham, but he's on the pup list
Yeah.
right now. So who knows when he'll play. They did lose, like you mentioned earlier, Christian Hawkins and Raekwon Davis. Both of them were D tackles. Andrew Van Ginkel, there's their linebacker. He's with the Vikings now, and they lost Brandon Jones and Deshaun Elliott. Both of them with safeties. They drafted edge rusher Chop Robinson in the first round. They drafted a tackle Patrick Paul in the second round, and in the fourth round, they drafted a running back Jalen Wright. We mentioned, I think it was a couple of shows ago, how Tua Tagovailoa got that new big contract. I think that's a weight lifted off his shoulders. I kind of think it'll have the same effect that it had with Lamar last year, where now he's got that contract. He just got there, focus on football. I think if as long as he can stay healthy, he's gonna ball out. I got the Dolphins right now finishing. I think they're gonna finish second in this division. I could be first, but I'm leaning towards second right now. But they got Tyreek Hill, they got Jalen Waddle. Those guys can stay healthy, difference maker. Tyreek Hill, he got voted the number one player in the top 100 of all 100 NFL players. I think that's going to be like another ego boost for him. I can see him having an MVP type season. He's on the chase for a 2,000-yard season. I think he would have got it last year, but he got hurt towards the end of the year. I think he's back on a mission again this year. I like the Dolphins, but right now I got them finishing second. I wouldn't be surprised they finish first, but I got them second in this division. How about you?
Okay. They finished first, actually. Anthony Weaver and Mike McDaniels, I think two guys that'll help lead the units on both sides of the ball. We all know the great play calling of Mike McDaniels in his first two seasons there. Anthony Weaver, our former position coach on defense, it'll be his first season defensive coordinator. He's replacing Vic Fangio, who's now the Eagles defensive coordinator. We'll see how it goes, but he definitely has a good defensive roster to work with, in my opinion. This team, they got a challenge right out the gate and closing the season, two stretches. They'll host Jacksonville, they'll host Buffalo. They'll be at Seattle, traveling across the country and back home for Tennessee. And then week 13, it'll start to get tough again as well. At Green Bay, home for the Jets, at Houston, home for San Francisco, and at Cleveland. Those are a lot of good defenses there down the stretch for sure that they got to play. You mentioned Tua Tagovailoa. I think his accuracy and the offensive speed will definitely be needed down the stretch for this team. But I really like how this Dolphins front office attacked the offseason. Um, Chop Robinson, you mentioned, drafted in the first round out of Penn State. They're really high on him. They got a tackle in the second, running back Jalen Wright in the fourth to add more speed, and then they got another edge rusher in the fifth round. I think if Chop Robinson, if he develops fast and has an immediate impact, go along with Bradley Chubb and my guy Jalen Phillips, who's coming off an injury. Hopefully he comes back 100% because Jalen Phillips, man, he was a monster down there. This defense will be top tier, honestly, in my opinion. Then they added in also Calais Campbell. This guy, he always seems to help run defenses go, take the next step to another level. He was with the Falcons the past few seasons after being with the Ravens and the Cardinals and the Jaguars early in his career. I think it'll be a close race in the AFC East, but I give the Dolphins a little bit of an edge. I think the Bills have lost some pieces that I think that the Dolphins will take advantage of that. The new um, situation that Buffalo's got to get used to up there in the Northeast. All right, where are we going to next in the AFC East?
Let's go to Buffalo, the last team you just talked about. I think they're going to finish third. I think they're going to take a big step back.
Mhm.
I mean, they got Josh Allen, so they're going to be competitive, but they lost Stephon Diggs. They did pick up my guy Curtis Samuel, but he's always seems to have an injury bug. I think even now he's dealing with turf toe, if I'm not mistaken. They picked up Matt Collins, another wide receiver in MVS or Marquez Valdez Scantling, and they drafted Keon Coleman in the second round. But who is going to replace that production of Stephon Diggs, who, my opinion, was a true number one receiver? I'm looking at their depth chart for the receivers now. I don't see a guy that stands out as a true number one. I mean, it could be Keon Coleman potentially, but they got Khalil Shakir, if I said his name right.
Yeah,
But a lot of these guys, in my opinion, is like two or three guys. A lot of guys who play better in the slot or fill that number two position. Who's going to be the true number one? I think the loss of Stephon Diggs is definitely going to impact them. I could be wrong. They also lost Tre'Davious White. They lost Jordan Porter, who I mentioned went over to the Dolphins, and then Mitch Morse is gone too. So I think they lost a lot of important pieces on the offense side of the ball. And then Matt Milano tore his bicep, and he's out
yeah,
definitely. And when he's out there, that defense is definitely top notch. But he's gone now. I'm not too sure. I think that's a big blow for the defense. Hopefully, yeah, they always say next man up. Hopefully, that next man can fill that position until he gets back. If he comes back this year, I think maybe late in the season, late 2024, he could come back. We'll see. But I don't know. Von Miller, another year removed from the torn ACL. So he should be back in action, but he's getting up there in age. Definitely dealt with some injuries through the years. How much does he have left in the tank? I'm not too sure. So I don't know. I think they'll be competitive, though. They probably will get to the playoffs, I think. But this division, Aaron Rodgers is back and healthy. Uh, Dolphins look ready to go. I think they're going to take a step back for the Bills and finish third in this division. How you feel about them?
yeah, I agree. You definitely have some very valid points. I could see the Bills going in the third place, but I got them at second. Um, They've got 10 selections from the rookie class, the NFL draft in 2024. I think they'll need every last one of those guys to have an impact early and often. When I think about this team, I think about the pieces they lost. You mentioned Stephon Diggs. They also lost Gabe Davis, Jordan Poyer on defense, Tre'Davious White, just to name a few. Um, Two guys I think they will need to have a big season to help them control their destiny in 2024. Khalil Shakir, I think he had a pretty good season last year. Defensive end Greg Rousseau, he had a great preseason. I think I mispronounced his name, but y'all know who I'm talking about. And he's also fighting for a contract. So those guys that are looking for a contract typically have themselves a good year. So we'll need those two to continue their on-field success. I think again, Shakir came on strong in his second season. I expect continued growth. I think he'll be the wide receiver one out there, in my opinion. Everybody's been calling on Buffalo to run the ball over the probably past 3, 4, 5 years, pretty much since Josh Allen's been there. But I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Honestly, I do feel like Joe Brady, he'll want to get his two big tight ends, Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. They're two of the best tandem out there, in my opinion. Try to get them on the field at the same time to help take the pressure off the new wide receiver room there. Josh Allen, he's going to be Josh Allen. We know he's going to light it up through the air. Um, he'll use his legs. He'll, move the chains. He'll get in the end zone, but he's almost also guaranteed at least one interception each game. And I didn't catch on to that until one of my guys in my picks league mentioned up last year. He was like, three things are guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and Josh Allen throwing an interception. I was like,
Damn.
damn. And I didn't even, again, I didn't pay attention to it. And I started looking at some of his stats, and it was like, yeah, he do pretty much throw interception a game. So it's kind of low key because he's so phenomenal on the field. But yeah, I think this team could easily fall in the third place in the AFC East. Um, yeah, don't be surprised you hear more calls for Sean McDermott's job, especially if they get into a couple losing streaks. They struggled a little bit last year on the offensive side of the ball, had to fire their offensive coordinator. So yeah, Sean McDermott could be on the hot seat this year. He could be one of those coaches that fighting for his job as well. All right. I think it's nowhere else left in the AFC East but to take a jet up to New York. How do you feel about the New York Jets in the AFC East?
Might shock you, might shock some folks, but I got them finishing first. I got them number one in the division. Healthy Aaron Rodgers, knock on wood. Hopefully, he can stay healthy and not blow his Achilles or knee or whatever the hell else could happen in the first damn series of the game this year. But healthy Aaron Rodgers, I think he's got something to prove. They got a healthy Brees Hall, who's I think is a top running back when he's healthy. They did. I am kind of concerned on defense just a little bit. They lost their sack leader Bryce Huff in free agency. They traded for Hassan Reddick, but I'm not sure if he'll even play with the team because he's requested a trade. He wants a new contract. Doesn't seem like that's going to happen, so I'm not sure. They tried to shore up the offensive line. Some they shine. They signed Tyron Williams. Oh, steady and true. Tyron Williams over from the Cowboys. They drafted a tackle, Olu Fashanu, in the first round. They drafted a guy who I'm kind of high on in the third round, Malachi Corley, wide receiver. Steve Smith, I think he had him as like his top 10 wide receivers coming out of the draft. So I'm excited to see, interested to see how he's going to look coming out. And then in the fourth round, they got Braylon Allen, a running back. He was a comp pick from Baltimore, actually. But yeah, that defense, even though they did lose Bryce Huff, they got Sauce Gardner. They got my guy, the D tackle. I'm blanking on his name. His brother plays with him too. But both of those guys, especially the D tackle whose name I'm blanking on at the moment. Sorry, Quinnen Williams. I think Quinnen Williams, definitely a monster on the D line. I think they're going to be solid. Aaron Rodgers, I just have a feeling he's going to come out the gate smoking. As long as they can protect him, as long as he can stay healthy. They got my guy Garrett Wilson, who I think will show out. He's got a competent quarterback now. No offense to Zach Wilson or whoever the hell else was out there for him last season, but I think Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson connection will be good. Mike Williams, like I said, he's with the Jets now too. He's still dealing with that ACL recovery. He got hurt middle last season, late last season, if I'm not mistaken. But I think once he comes back, that's another weapon for Aaron Rodgers. So I just have a feeling, man, that the Jets are going to come out the gate smoking. I could be wrong, but yeah, for right now, I got them in the first place in the AFC East. How are you feeling about the Jets?
Long story short, you believe in the offensive coordinator with the New York Jets. I'm gonna say his name in a few minutes, but you'll know who I'm talking about.
He ain't
I
the head
wonder.
coach, so we ain't got the problems.
Okay, got you. All right, y'all. Jets brass, they really put their focus on the offense during the offseason, especially the offensive line. 5 of their 7 draft picks were offensive players, including you mentioned Big Olu Fashani, the offensive tackle out of Penn State. Speaking of offensive line, after the Aaron Rodgers injury, 3 of the 5 starting linemen are all new veterans as well. 2 of them from Baltimore, Morgan Moses, former commander, and John Simpson. He was a Raider as well early in his career. I'm looking for Nathaniel Hackett, like Ed says, to utilize Brees Hall, man. Even more, especially you got your quarterback coming off a bad injury. We know what Aaron Rodgers can do out there, but Brees Hall, he finished just shy of 1,000 yards on the ground last year. He capped it all off with 178 yards in the season finale for the Jets last year. If I'm a Jets fan, I'm saying thank God, thank the Lord, Aaron Rodgers is healthy and Zach Wilson is no longer on the roster because that was a royal mess since he's been there. For real, for real. You mentioned the guys that was there before with Zach Wilson as well. I think Mike White was one of them, even though he played decent as a backup with the Dolphins. I think when he went down there, and it's another guy, was it Boyle or something like that? They were just, yeah, they needed, just like they needed to redo that offensive line room, they need to redo that quarterback room minus Aaron Rodgers. So good to know that they got those guys out of there. They also got Tyrod Taylor, former Raven,
Right.
former Bill, former a lot of teams quarterback. Good to
Giants.
see him. Yep, Giants. Good to see him holding the clipboard there for the Jets just in case he's needed. Defensively, no concerns for me except for Hassan Reddick. You mentioned the fact that he's probably not going to suit up for them. He's obviously a sack machine when he is out there, but again, don't expect him to play this season. This defensive unit is fast. They're dominant. They should be another top 10 unit um, under the leadership of head coach. I can't think of his name right now. Uh,
Salah.
yeah, thank you, Robert Sala. They got a tough opener, man. Got to pray for them, man. They're going out San Francisco, playing out there on Monday Night Football. Um, but the schedule does ease up after that. I was looking at their schedule; it gets a lot better after that, week 1 opener. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they make a push for second. But I got them finishing third. Um, I got them finishing third. I think that offensive line concerns me for sure. Um, Wide receiver after Garrett Wilson and maybe Alan Lazard, he is out there. Yeah, you mentioned that Malachi Corley guy. I think he was a guy that was like a big flex guy. I remember Steve Smith talking about him a lot. He did a lot of screens, a lot of end around stuff like that. So yeah, besides those guys, and again, you got to develop Malachi Corley, but they got the right quarterback thrown to them, obviously. And again, Alan Lazard, he has uh, rapport with Aaron Rodgers. He pretty much played with him every year besides last year when he was banged up. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think they should focus on running the ball to get this offensive line continuity together um, before we expect too much from Aaron Rodgers. Before we put too much on him, I guess in a sense. So yeah, I got the let me scroll back up. I got the Dolphins finishing first. I got Buffalo an iffy 2, New York Jets an iffy 3. I think again those two could switch up in my opinion. New England, I think they'll finish in 4th place again. You want to run over your AFC East standings one more
Yeah, I
time?
got Jets. I got the Jets first, Dolphins second, Bills third, and the Patriots in fourth. So I got.
Gotcha. All right. So next week we'll be back next Friday, I believe. We're gonna give out our um, player awards for the season, who we think is going to win MVP, defensive player of the year, offensive rookie of the year, all that kind of stuff, head coach of the year, and also probably I think our top 7 seeds on both conferences, probably AFC title game picks and Super Bowl picks.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, that is it for this episode of the Breaking and Entering podcast. Again, I want to thank everybody who does tune in to watch, like, and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter. And look for us on Facebook as we post content on there as well. Y'all have a good weekend. I think college football is starting tomorrow. Florida State's playing Clemson or somebody. I know Florida State's playing somebody. But yeah, football is just around the corner, everybody. Can't wait for it. Y'all have a good weekend, though. Peace.